had passed away.
Yeah, thank you. Today, our ex-Prime Minister, Prime Minister Sheikh Khaleda Zia, she died at the age of 80. She has a lot of contributions to develop Bangladesh as a democratic country, and she has a lot of sacrifice. She was three times Prime Minister for Bangladesh, and she's first woman Prime Minister in Bangladesh. I have a close relations. I'm a part of research and innovations. I do research PhD thesis on this glass ceiling factor, woman leadership. So I learn a lot from Bangladesh democratic system, especially from this women uh, who continue as a leaders. But most important factors beside her prime ministerial activities, last 16 years, she had lot of contributions. That's why all of the Bangladeshi people, uh, they said that she is a mother of democracy in Bangladesh, and she became a great leader based on her sacrifice. She was in jail, she was sick, she lost her son, and but she always pushed for democracy. She loved Bangladesh. She has the position like many Bangladeshis and Pakistanis and many political leaders. When they have problem, they love to live abroad, and they love to live in Europe or North America and any other place. But she never left Bangladesh. She was in jail, and I think what is the situation right now, specifically Bangladesh moving to the democratic governments, and we have elections in February. She has huge contribution, and Bangladeshi people, especially, they have lot of sympathy for this political leader. Specifically, I see that Indian political leader, Pakistan political leaders like Pakistan foreign ministers and India, they're gonna join tomorrow's uh, her prayer. So I request all of the audience, please pray for our ex-prime minister. And this is one of the interesting moment for Bangladesh, because Bangladesh go for the elections, and we need all of the global support, like media, what you are doing, like all of the political ally and United Nations to the move to the next level. So lot of things happening. Many young people died. Last 1 year and a half, around 1,400 people died in Bangladesh. Though all of them are young. More than 20,000 people injured in Bangladesh because of moving to this democracy. Recently, Hadi, one of our friends and colleague, he also died, and now just our political leader, she died. This is the way all of the people sacrifice their life for a democratic movement, sacrifice their most valuable things for building Bangladesh, a ethical society, which is the motto of this Begum Khaleda Zia, Hadi, and all of the people, those who sacrifice their life for Bangladesh. So this can be a good example in the global communities. This can be a very good example of sacrifice, very good example for love for their countries, and very good example how the youth communities, with the help of wise people, wise leaders, they are moving to develop a new democratic country. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, glad to do that and everything. How you doing, Chris? How's everything going there? I did
Good,
see that
good.
you.
I wanted to talk to Dr. Sharif just for a second here about Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So um, I'm just looking up some stuff on the CIA World Almanac or World Factbook, and your country has been through a lot of really, really tumultuous situations here. Um, coup in 1979, coup in 1981, democratic elections held in 1991, and then
Yeah.
BNP, the Bangladesh National Party, and the what they call the Awami, if I'm pronouncing it right, the Awami League.
Yeah.
So basically, those two were going back and forth and back and forth from 1991 to 2008, and
Mhm.
then there was a military-backed emergency caretaker regime in 2007. and then
Mhm.
finally 2008 went back to democratic rule, and then now and the sad part about it is, and this is really sad, I just have to read this for you, is the poverty declined from 11.8% in 2010 to 5% in 2022,
Mhm.
based on the international poverty line of $2.15 a day. And I just,
Mhm.
it's like, wow. I mean,
Mhm.
that's, your country has a lot of challenges ahead of them. And I'm really hoping, I mean, for a country that is about the same size as our, covers like from Pennsylvania down to about Virginia. So it's not that
Mhm.
big of a country, 4,000, a little over 4,000 kilometers. So it's not that big, but here you are, um, your border countries is Burma, which is going through all kind of tumultuous situations right now, and then India, which of course that's your border country. So I mean, all
Yeah.
those situations happening, you have a lot of very very tough challenges ahead of you from the standpoint of making a democratic ruled government aspects. Um,
Mhm.
do you see in the next 5 years, 10 years, that Bangladesh is going to be able to um, keep the economic progress going from that standpoint?
Okay, this is very good questions. First thing, for I just want to add, like recently, if you see our GDPs and other things, it's around $500 billion GDPs right now in Bangladesh. Okay, it's not so bad, but I believe our GDP is more than $1 trillion because the emerging economy not based in everything statistics like business and other things. Secondly, what when you discuss about democracy and other things, I'm very much hopeful because I see there are we have 57% youth. So youth is the most important and valuable asset for Bangladesh, country like Bangladesh. And as we have 171 million people, more than 80 million people are youth. So these youth are the most productive things right now. And as I have experience to work in Silicon Valley, to like in Asia Pacific or in Bangladesh, I see that youth are doing excellent job through three things. Number one, with their technology and technology oriented activities. This is number one. Number two, they do focus on politics. Even yes, there are a lot of challenging things and other issues, but you have to understand when they involve in politics, what I see absent in the Western world, these youth are very, very positive about their country. They really love their country. That's why it's not easy to sacrificing your life. You cannot go in front of arms and say, I want to sacrifice my life and you can kill me, but I want to make a new country. That is the synergy for Bangladesh. That is the positive things of Bangladesh. All of the youth come to the front line, and the local communities and most of the people, they come to under an umbrella. And final things, when you have a very productive nations, those who love their countries, those who are intelligent and they are young, you cannot protect or deprive these nations. So this is the things India has to understand. This is the things the big country like USA, definitely they are very good ally for Bangladesh, or Western world, lot of people like European Union or Japan, they are ally for Bangladesh. They have to understand. I'm very much optimistic because I'm working with this talent group of people on the ground, not in online. I go to hands on hands. I understand their talent and everything. And trust me, there is no difference in between global north and global south. There is no difference in between Silicon Valley and in Bangladesh. Talent can grow anywhere, and I am very much optimistic that the economical challenge and democratic challenge Bangladesh will overcome soon. Definitely, we need big support from USA, from India, and all of the big country. But this is very interesting and very challenging moment for Bangladesh. You are right.
Continuing on, and I was taking a look at the Bangladesh. Basically, what they call it is they call it the age tornado, the age aspects in the World Factbook. And I mean, of course, you know Bangladesh, but it is interesting to note, and I put it up on the share screen. I mean, in 2024, I mean, here are the age groups that you're talking about, and you're right. Your age group here, I mean, down here, I mean, 20 to 24, huge area here, and then all of a sudden it just slowly goes up to almost nothing when you hit around the 85 to 89 point. So if you take a look at the U.S., is almost like down and then back up again. We're coming. We have this range of coming or like around here and then coming back up in the age group. Our age, the boomers and the people that are going 70s and 80s are really coming. I mean, we're growing. I mean, it's a growth type aspect. But of course, you take a look at this and you say, gee, that's really interesting. But if you take a look also at the situation as to deaths versus births, it's also in Bangladesh, you're talking 5.5 deaths for every 1,000 people. So it just doesn't work that way in the U.S. And also, you're 107, like you said, 170 million. We're twice your population, but you're twice the population of Canada. I mean, Canada is what, 80 million? Is it 80 million? I think. So, I mean, you're twice the population of Canada with what, 1/3 the amount of landmass. So if that, so it's really, really interesting how that works. That's good. I mean,
Yeah.
Good discussion. Thank you.
Yeah. Even beside that, I just want to share, as I'm working with the research and business incubations, research centers. So even, let's say I'm Bangladeshi, but I'm contributing even Indian economy. India developing their Olympic cities for 2036. Here is a billions of people. So if you have right kind of populations, if you have right kind of technologies, and if you have investment, even country like Bangladesh is a very productive. Democracy definitely challenging, but how I see the awareness and the positivities, I believe that we will achieve this democracy with the help of Western world. Definitely, USA playing a major role to bring Bangladesh in democratic system and everything. I want to give thanks to all of my US friend and colleague, those who supporting Bangladeshi democratic system and for the election, upcoming election. USA has very good contributions. I want to give a special thanks to US people and politicians.
And Mark Lee had mentioned something about weather, climatology, that type of thing. National Weather Service has through NOAA, has a great National Centers for Environmental Information, great databases. I just wanted to share that with you guys. And this is really great. You can go all the way back to where you want to go. I mean, you can go back 2007. You can go all the way back to 1950 on these areas. And you can ask a lot of different questions here, a lot of event types you can put in, or you can use them all. And they have CSV type downloads, which I've taken those downloads. They're very, very, very detailed. You have to actually download the data definitions to be able to understand those areas. But this is also very good. But Dr. Sharif, thank you so much for that discussion on Bangladesh, because I think a lot of people don't even realize where Bangladesh is. I think they sit there and they don't. I mean, they sit back and they go, well, I think it's like I think it's near Kazakhstan or something. It's like, well, you're in the right. At least you're in Central Asia, which at least you're not in Europe. Which is half the people think that Bangladesh is in. I shouldn't say that. There are people that think there are Bangladeshis in Europe. It's like, no, sorry, not quite there. It's closer actually to China. So the bottom line is I think bringing you on board and talking about these countries is very, very important, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. One thing I just want to add: we speak in Bengali. Why it's called Bangladesh or West Bengal?
Bengali, right?
Bengali.
Yeah.
In language, and we have around 300 million people. It's like around US populations. People speak in Bengali, and it's the 5th largest language in this world. Who speak in the Bengalis?
Wow.
So we have a lot of people actually. Even in Europe and in USA and in Canada, I saw a lot of Bengali speaking peoples. I speak with them in Stanford, in MIT, even in NASA. They are actually from Bangladesh or from West Bengal, and yeah, people has to
Yeah.
know more about Bangladesh. Yeah.
Well, I think that if you say Bengali or Bengali, whatever, that pronunciation, people naturally think of the Bengal tiger, right? So it goes immediately. Oh, that must be the Bengal. That must be the home of the Bengal tiger. Well, no, that's not exactly
Yeah.
correct. But at least in the right region of the of
Yes.
the world. So
That's why I invite all of my friends to Bangladesh, even Rick, Jatovi, and you can visit Bangladesh. It's very interesting place and maybe new environment and new culture. Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
noticed Mark was coughing, and I just want to urge, if you're coughing right now and it's not going away after a couple days, we are in the middle of COVID, flu, and RSV season. Pick up a test and take it to see what you've got. Maybe you have nothing, but now is the peak time for having that stuff. My wife's just getting over COVID. She got on Paxlovid. You don't want a bad case of COVID. It chews up your immune system. I just saw a study that shows that people with COVID are 5 times as likely to get something else in the month after COVID as people who haven't had COVID, because it screws your immune system. And to get tested, get treated. The Paxlovid is, well, it kind of sucks to take. It gives you a terrible taste in your mouth. It gives you diarrhea, but it saves you from a bad case of COVID that chews you up.
If you're on a statin, you cannot take Paxlovid unless you actually get off the statin. So you have to get off the statin for that, whatever it is, 5 days, 6 days.
Yeah, the same for a lot of drugs.
Right. Make sure you contact your doctor about contraindications, because there's situations there. I mean, even Biden, when he had it, he was on statins. He had to get off the statin for whatever it was, 5-6 days.
My wife takes migraine stuff. She had to get off of it.
Oh, yeah.
Paxlovid acts like grapefruit juice, which both of them, they make the drug, some of the other drugs you're taking more effective. So you can OD on the other drugs, not fatally, but they somehow magnify the effect. So yeah, you have to back off of those drugs.
That's true. So interestingly enough, they're coming out with the multivariant now. Both vaccination and testing, and they're having some questions about the multivariant testing, whether or not that is really as effective as they say. And it's interesting. When I had COVID last year, I've had COVID like every year. Even though you get the vaccination, but that doesn't prevent the COVID, of course. But the one test I took when I had COVID, and I had a feeling I had COVID, the test did positive like immediately, like within 10, 15 seconds. Well, I shouldn't even say that. Probably within about a minute, it was positive. Bang. That was it. It was like, okay, I definitely have COVID. But those people that take it and they say, well, I'm negative on the test, really, really look closely at that test, because that could be a very, very dim line. And, it goes anywhere between dim line and big lines and those types of things. So you got to make sure that all those things are really are really in there from that standpoint. So yeah, I agree with you, man. You gotta make sure that is where you say you are and all the COVID aspects. But yeah, and also the colder winter. We're having a cold winter down here in North Carolina, man. I know Mark can speak for that. I mean, we're having like it was teens this morning. We're having some cold weather down here, so and that doesn't help. That doesn't help the
no, because everybody stays inside breathing on each other.
We're also
damn it. That's right, Rick.
That's also causing the worst flu season right now too.
Well,
one of the worst flu seasons.
Well, you can say that from the standpoint of number of cases, right? The number of cases, of course, has grown. But I think, and I probably what I should do is I should do a data show on it. is do what they call a density analysis, is sit back and figure out, okay, how many more people do we have in the country? How many more cases do we have? And then take a density analysis to find out if in fact there is the worst flu period, or does it have to do with, population per capita, that type of thing. And I think, because basically they're saying things like, oh, it's the worst weather we've had in 200 million years. Well, that's called counterfactual. It's not exactly correct from the standpoint that I can't predict the past. I don't know what happened 200 million years ago. Nobody does. And no matter how well your tests are, you still can't get that good of a situation. But what you say,
we do have the scientific data to be able to prove that the weather has gotten worse and the Earth has gotten warmer. So it's not really counterfactual. It's how you analyze the data and try and create your own analysis based off that data set, right? So it's not counterfactual. It's more so creating a narrative based off the data that you pull.
That's right. Good. I'm glad you brought that up. So basically, what you're saying, Jitovi, is essentially correct. Is the collection of the data is very, very important to be able to scientifically analyze that data, to be able to surmise that in fact we have the weather, the climate change aspect, right? Which I agree with climate change. I mean, it's every 30 years climate changes for whatever, however it works. Even the volcanic eruptions, which we cannot predict, nor can we stop or change or do whatever. Those volcanic eruptions are creating climate change immensely. I mean, so those types of things are all considered. But what you have to consider also is that the U.S. government from 1995 on actually changed a lot of their data because of the amount of data being collected and the way it was collected. For instance, you cannot take the same number of tornadoes that were created or that were reported in 1950 and attempt to say, well, we have more tornadoes in 2025 because look at the number of tornadoes we had in 1950 and the number of tornadoes we had in 2025. Because in 1950, other than the moon, there were no other satellites orbiting the Earth. That was it. By 1960, we had satellites and we had weather satellites. Then by the 1970s, we had better weather satellites. We had more satellites by 1980s, by 1990s. So we had more and more and more better data collection. So by 1995, the government suddenly said, you know something, we're going to have to lop this data off and say from 1995 on, we are going to have a new set of data because it's now more consistent collection. And the more consistent collection you have, the more consistent data you have. And the more consistent data you have, the more consistent data analysis you have. So all those things take into consideration. For instance, in 1995, when we had race, you put race down as a choice, whatever it was. If you were from Egypt, or if you were Egyptian American, however you want to say it, Egyptian, if you were American of Egyptian descent, or you were Egyptian that came into the country, you were considered white, not African American, white until 1995. Then they started to break that out into African American. So it was interesting how the data definitions and the data collection and everything having to do with that really, really, really affects how the analysis is being done.
But I think
which means you have to watch out for yahoos on Twitter who do their own analysis, because
I agree. I agree with that, Rick.
I've got another example.
Yes.
All the crime rates have dropped by about 50% since the early 90s, except for rape. Rape exploded, I don't know, 20 years ago, but it was because the FBI changed the definition of rape in their statistics to make it more inclusive.
Well,
yes.
I mean, that happens to all. For example,
Sure.
RFK, for example, but I think what we're trying to do is we're connecting data sets that don't really connect. Like, in the sense what we just did, the scientific tracking is different from societal tracking where we're talking about Egyptian.
Oh yeah.
So I
I
don't
guess
wanna
it was bad
create that.
definition. You're right, Jacoby. I was trying to make a point about
I mean,
bad
that's what I was
definition.
trying to
Yeah.
get clarified.
You're right.
Make sure
Yeah,
we
yeah.
clarify that because
Yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't make sense. But I think that also creates a problem with, for example, RFK. When RFK is out here rambling around that autism is this brand new thing and we didn't have autism back when he was young, which is a complete lie and complete fallacy. But also the broadening, the data set around autism and how we detect and how we claim somebody is on that spectrum. That spectrum is a lot larger than it was way back when. So therefore, when he's talking about all these things, he's creating a narrative and just like the Yahoos Rick is talking about, that he's basically doing the same thing a Yahoo does and creating a following based on bad analysis of the data.
So here's what's happening. And I'm sorry, Rick. Just let me put this, and I swear you got it.
Okay.
So here's what's happening with the RFK thing and vaccination and autism. I truly believe this. I truly believe this about data is that you can sit back and you can say, do vaccinations cause autism? And that is basically it makes it to a hypothesis. Vaccination causes autism. So that's what you're either trying to prove or disprove from that standpoint. Here's where the problem arrives, and Jacoby, you'll agree with this 400%, is that if you sit there and say, okay, my kid had a vaccination and then he got autism, boom, the vaccination must have caused autism. Well, wait a minute, time out. There's also what they call confounding factors, which are thrown into that whole mix about vaccinations and autism. What they're going from A to Z without going B through Y. And they're saying vaccination caused autism. Wait a minute, what about all the other confounding factors that are in there? You have to take all those into consideration if you're going to do it scientifically. And that's, I think, what you're saying from that standpoint.
So there's a saying that correlation isn't causation. On Twitter yesterday, somebody noted that wet roads do not cause rain. And so when I was a kid, say 1966, I started engaging in ritualized behavior, chanting to God and spinning. And if this had happened in 2026, in a second, autistic. I was, definitely on the spectrum. The word did not exist in Boulder, Colorado in 1966. I went to a shrink to get diagnosed. They said that I missed my dad because my parents got divorced, and they sent me to a child psychiatrist for a year, but nobody ever said the word autism, even though in retrospect, I was totally that. Yeah, the reason that we have more diagnoses of autism is because
you broaden the spectrum. You have more people visiting the doctor to being early detections. A whole bunch of reasons.
Also,
But
there's
nothing-
money that you can get money to
Toby.
treat
Good.
your kid's autism.
Well, the problem is that people want an answer, and people are
And that's
afraid because they're looking for that quick answer when that quick answer has already been disproven, but they're still, because they don't want to believe it. They're looking, they're set in stone because that A to Z, they're forgetting all those pieces and they're not looking at all those pieces. My favorite correlation was ice cream causes shark attacks because you eat more ice cream in the summer and there are more shark attacks in the summer.
Good for you. So I have it on my share screen right now. It's a book by Tyler Vigen, who was a law student, and he decided to go ahead and write this book called Spurious Correlations. And you can look it up. It's really great. The popularity of the first name Laurel correlates with the number of costume attendants in Minnesota. This one, my wife really likes this one. Associate's degrees awarded in dental assisting correlates with wins for the Baltimore Orioles. So and in this, he has a website out there. You can actually put different things together in a correlation aspect and show all these different aspects. GMO use in corn-grown Iowa correlates with jet fuel used in Kosovo. So I mean, this is
Hey Chris, I got a quick question for you based on correlations, and it's one that you kind of referenced earlier when you were talking about the weather here in lovely North Carolina, where you were at, I'm at, and Jacoby's at as well, and everything like that. But can you explain to me how come we're having this correlation between this lovely cold weather and also fire warnings? Because that seems like almost a contradiction in terms, but because of the dry weather and everything like that, we are having a lot of fire warnings as well, because there's a lot of conditions that can lead to fire. But if you talk to the average person, they're going to be like, wait a minute, it's 18 degrees. Why should I be worried about fire?
Well, and it's interesting that weather, right? The number one factor of weather, what determines weather in the world? The number one and the only factor that determines weather, of course, determines also life, and that is the sun, right? The sun is the determinant of weather. So basically what happens is that when you have dry weather like you're having, you have warm front, cold fronts, and cold front comes in, you have dry weather, you have more unstable air, more winds, and you have more winds and dry weather. Guess what? You get a match, you get some wood, and all of a sudden you got yourself a forest fire. It's really, really bad situation.
Yeah, cold weather doesn't, if you've got low humidity. My hometown, Boulder, where you put up that NOAA thing, that's where NOAA is. Boulder was having below zero temperatures. The high of the day was like -2, but they had extreme fire warnings because the humidity was so low. So cold does not prevent you from going up in flames.
That's right.
Doesn't prevent that at all. Hey, Nick, I know Nick is a big football fan. His the university, the U, as he likes to call them, and everything like that, and in that space. But I do have a question for you and Jacoby, who I also know is a sports fan, and even you, Rick, because I think you're a sports fan, and you, Chris, because you mentioned the Baltimore teams, and your wife probably is a sports fan as well and everything. But are we having way too many bowls? Are we having way too many bowls now? Because I'm sitting there and I did watch during Christmas, and I did see that we've got like the Pop-Tart bowl, and we had the Frito-Lay bowl, and even Snoop has his own bowl and everything like that. So it seems like maybe we got to get Pod TV to create its own bowl, and we'll invite a couple of teams to play in the bowl that's the Pod TV bowl. So are we going to get our own bowl, or do we have way too many bowls?
Too many, and they're losing money.
How many are there? 60 of them? And if any D1 team with a record of better than like 6-6 gets a bowl. Right. But the good thing about the bowls is that they are now crazy. They now acknowledge the ridiculousness. Like the Pop-Tarts bowl is the premier crazy bowl where it's flooded with Pop-Tarts. They've got a giant guy dressed as a Pop-Tart who gets lowered into a giant toaster at the end of the game. It's good because they're making fun of themselves. I have an NFL question for Jacoby. This season seems more up for grabs than previous seasons, with so many games that really like make you like stress-filled games that are decided wildly in the last second. Is it true that this season is more chaotic than previous seasons?
Well, sorry guys. So I'm sorry. So I just put up on the share screen. I put up the. It's Wikipedia, so you got to take it in. But all the different bowl games, all the different bowls that they have, and I noticed a lot of these bowl 1992, 1993, 1997, 1998, 1999, 2001, 2002. So there were these, you're right, the Pop-Tart Bowl, yeah, Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida, of course. Now bring the kids. So 1978, it looks like between 1978 and like 1986, there was really nothing, and then all of a sudden, like 1990, it started like every 2-3 years, you got yourself another freaking bowl. So evidently, you're right, it has to do with money aspects and everything else. But anyways, I just throw that up there just because I'm a data guy. I love that stuff. So go ahead. I'm sorry,
Jacoby, and I know you're going to answer his question, but does anybody in the NFC South want to win? Because I understand that Carolina can actually literally lose the game against Tampa Bay and still make the bowl, because if Atlanta beats, I think it's New Orleans they're playing, then Carolina can still win even if they lose the game, and we're not hoping that they will lose. They hopefully will win, but it's possible that they could go into the bowl with a losing. Well, I think they would still have a winning record. I can't remember and everything, but definitely they might.
Yeah, they'll have a winning record no matter what. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up this year in terms of who's going to win because, for example, yes, you're talking about the three-way tie that could possibly take place between Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and Carolina. Yes, if Atlanta wins, that ruins Tampa Bay's chances to go into the playoffs. It doesn't matter what they do. Carolina right now sits in the pole position. But again, because of that three-way tie system, that's the way that's set up. Honestly, you still have a lot of movement that's still going to take place across all of it. Because, I mean, if you just look at the playoff scenarios right now, for example, New England's sitting at number 2 in the AFC, but actually can make it to number 1. But they'd have to hope that Denver loses. But New England, again, was left for dead the last couple of years because not only did Tom Brady lose, but also the coach left and everybody else left. But then they brought in a whole new system. Drake May is now playing well. And so New England's back at the top. Buffalo should have won that division. This was all laid out for Buffalo to win. But, of course, Buffalo didn't have any outside receivers or outside weapons to stretch the field the way they needed to. They have a couple of slot receivers that are great for slot receiving positions, but they're playing them out on the wings or on the wide receiver position to try and stretch the field, but nobody can break away. Nobody can get separation, so you got a problem there. But, yes, it has been chaotic, Rick. There have been a lot of crazy things. Seattle has had a magical season because we've never seen the 2-point conversion that they had to beat the Rams ever happen, to where somebody threw the ball, it goes backwards, bounces off a helmet, goes into the end zone. Nobody cares about the ball, and a Seattle player just so happens to walk over and pick it up. Now you got a 2-point conversion, and they end up winning the game based off going into overtime and winning that game. But there has been some chaotic situations, like Baltimore. Baltimore plays Pittsburgh this weekend for all the marbles. If Baltimore wins, they go to the playoffs. If Pittsburgh wins, they go to the playoffs. It doesn't matter about Mike Tomlin's season, which he always rants and raves. I mean, which is an amazing stat, is that he's never had a losing season. Regardless of what happens, it's still going to be never a losing season for Mike Tomlin because he's sitting at 9-7. However, if he misses the playoffs, he's going to be sitting at a situation where he always says the standard is the standard. He's going to be sitting at a situation where the standard is average, and it's always going to be average. And Pittsburgh's going to probably end up leaving him, which I think Mike Tomlin needs to go ahead and move out of there. He is one of the greatest coaches ever. However, there comes a time in every coach's career where you got to move on. But this would end up being Pittsburgh, what about 4th or 5th coach? I think 4th, because I think he's a 3rd. But right now, it's up for grabs. The Jaguars can win. Trevor Lawrence is playing his greatest year ever. This is what people have been looking for when he came out of Clemson, because they thought he was a dominant player coming out of Clemson. Him and ETN, they're playing really well. But I mean, nobody wants to play Houston. Houston has the greatest defense walking into the whole playoffs. Nobody wants Houston. If you play them, you're in a smash mouth game, a throwback system where it's like the old Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, same thing with Seattle, where they come in and they're just trying to take your head off and win the game. CJ Stroud.
I have another football question. Is college football fair to the athletes? When I was a kid, a college football season might be 8 or 9 games. Now it's 11 games, and if you are an elite team that makes it into the 12-team playoff pool, you might be playing 4. You've got the conference championship game, and then you have potentially 4 playoff games. And I think college games beat the hell out of the players more than the pro games. The college players play with more abandon, less precautions. So is that fair to have the players like beat to hell?
Fair is a subjective word. Think
Do you
about
think
it.
that they, but Rick
Mark,
and Jacoby, you think that they, but I was going to add to that. You think that they are playing with more abandon and everything like that? Because a lot of these college kids are making some serious money off of NIL, and that's even coming up in basketball and football. Because even my school, Marquette, is wondering what they're going to do because there might be a mass exodus of players because they're not having a good year and everything because they might be looking for a better NIL deal. So a lot of players are literally moving from school to school because of these great NIL deals.
So, all right. So at least the
Well,
the good players are getting paid, which is
So-
what they deserve that. But when I think
Rick,
about plays where players crash into each other and somebody goes flipping like a car wreck, I think that's more like college.
Rick, what you're saying, I agree with. Even in, I mean, yes, reckless abandon. I would agree with that because, Mark, as a young person, you have less control over what you're doing. You understand in your body a little bit more as you age. That's just natural. It's not saying anything wrong or that young people don't know. But when you're young, a lot of times you think you're unbreakable, unbendable. You think you're Superman or Superwoman and can just do anything you want to. And there are no repercussions in the end. So I agree with Rick in terms of the reckless abandonment. Yes, you go out there and you're going to tear somebody up because that's what you can do. You don't think it's going to harm you, but you think that's what's going to happen. So I'll agree with that. But I think also throw into the money situation. Yes, the NIL has come in and caused havoc in a lot of situations because there's so much money being tossed around. There's even I think there's an NBA G League player who's going back to college because now he's going to get paid. And that's what I think Gilbert Arenas talked about this in his podcast, how there's going to be at some point these developmental league players are going to go back to college because they're going to be better than those players in college. There's going to be a problem there that college is going to have to fix and the NIL is going to have to fix because that's going to happen, which I think that's going to happen. But yes, I don't know in terms of fair. That's a subjective thing. I think I don't want to get too deep into the weeds because there's a lot of issues there because football within itself is a very dangerous and deadly sport anyway, and the body is going to take punishment. But also, if you look at it, college football, if I am correct, plays one of the least plays the least amount of games of all the major sports in college. Like basketball, you play 30 plus games. Baseball, you play 30 plus games. Football, you only play 12 to 14.
Yeah, I think even volleyball it plays 30 plus games as well, and some of the other lesser sports I think play as many games, if not more, than the college football. So yeah, I would agree with you on that. Hey, I did have another football question for you and Rick and everything. Because the other thing that me and my brother were talking about during the holiday season and everything is, and part of it is because of the impact of other world sports, but has kicking got ridiculous now because it seems like some of these kickers on the NFL are making like 60-yard and 55-yard kicks like it's nothing. I'm waiting for the 70-yard kick to come, and I'm not going to be surprised.
Made a 68-yard kick. I think somebody in a preseason game made a 71-yard field goal. So, which I think is awesome. I think like people get crazy to the point where it messes up the game. I love that.
It's a specialized skill. It's just like any other sport right now. If you are going to play football or if you're going to play basketball, unlike in past decades, you're not having your Bo Jackson, your multiple kids playing multiple sports now. You're having kids playing one sport and specializing in that sport because you have the technologies around it that are hyper specialized or hyper focused on making you the best wide receiver, making you the best quarterback, making you the best linebacker. You're not focused on, hey, I'm going to play quarterback, linebacker, point guard. I'm then going to go out and play tennis. I'm going to play shortstop in baseball. And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to play forward in soccer. It's not happening anymore. You got people who are hyper focused on, if I'm going to be play football and I'm a punter, I'm going to punt it 70 yards and be able to spin it on the 1 yard line. That's my goal. And that's what it is now with kickers. There's hyper focused and hyper specialized. So yeah, you're going to get better kickers. Like for example, in the 50s, they weren't kicking 50-yard field goals, but now they are.
No. And the technology is going to get weird, and we'll be fighting about whether it's allowed. When you start getting Olympic athletes who've had CRISPR, gene-altering technology. I'm writing a novel set in the future where people get neurons implanted in their joints, so they have little mini brains in their joints, so their bodies can move more efficiently and more crazily. And also, if you the NeuroGAN, what is it, Neuralink chips that Elon Musk is developing. If you had a chip in your head and connected to a chip in your knee that increased the speed with which you snap your leg, you could get a guy being able to kick 80-yard field goals. Are we going to allow that stuff in 10 years when it becomes available? We should ask Dr. Sharif, is cricket your national sport? I watch some cricket. That's a whole thing.
Cricket is not our national sports. We have different things, but the South Asian people, they really love cricket and football, what you call soccer. But we have very traditional sports. It's called Hadudu. This is very traditional games. This is our national sports. But cricket is not our national sport. It's come from British. And Britain has a very good impact in Bangladesh. Actually, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, we were same nations. But in 1947, we divide ourselves. India and Pakistan. It's Pakistan and West Pakistan. Then 1971, we divide from Pakistan and become Bangladesh. So that is the things. Britain has a lot of impact in South Asia.
So how does Hadudu work? I'm looking it up.
Yeah, it's a very difficult game. I mean, I'm very honest with you. I never played this game. I'm very honest with you. I never played this game. But I see it. But anyway, many traditional things we have. But now, how should I say? Because of this Facebook and social media, let's say, Jatovi sports like video games become very popular in Bangladesh.
Video games is huge everywhere. Ooh.
Yeah, it's become very popular. So now people love to spend their time in computers and play video games and everything. So we never know. Maybe after 10 years or 20 years, any of your video game become our national game.
I mean, I think it's South Korea where it started out going that way. But there are, video games is huge globally. It's bigger than it is in the U.S. However, monetarily wise, it grows roughly about 40% every year in terms of profits and stuff. I mean, it's unreal the amount of money in gaming, and also in terms of the amount of players. If I remember, there was a stat that said about 80% of the globe right now is playing, or in the youth is playing. Let me see if I can find that stat again. But gaming itself it's a global thing, and it's only growing. And because it is big in the youth, because kids these days have never grown up without a gaming system. People before, this is why the old fogies that aren't even on the screen right now, they're not here to talk about video games because they don't play video games.
But anyway, this kabaddi, what it called the national games, it's very difficult. Honestly speaking, I never played this game, and now this is the reality. Many young people, they love these video games. So why don't my institutions and your video games can collaborate? We can launch some educational video games for Bangladeshi kids or for youth or other things. Yeah.
So honestly, that is actually what I'm doing with what I'm setting up, because truthfully, what people see, one of the places that you can always go, I think it's NetZoo, talks about the amount of money in esports. For example, let me see if I can pull up something. Actually, Rick, you can pull up the numbers too. Not NetZoo, but if you take, for example, if you look at the ESA is another one that you can actually pull statistics from around gaming as well. And this is an annual ESA study that reveals video games' universal appeal across all generations. And this is just talking about the USA, where nearly 2/3 of Americans between the ages of 5 to 90, that's 205 million people regularly play video games. There are 330 million people in the
US. So
US.
That's 60% of Americans.
Exactly. So, and the average player is 36 years old. Everybody in their mind, when they hear video games in the US right now, because of the stigma around it, and actually even globally some too, they believe that it's always this young kid who's playing this video game in their mom's basement. No, the average is 36 years old. And so when you look at that, and honestly, a lot of people don't believe women play it. 47% of women are playing it right now as well. So there's a lot of statistics around video games that people don't understand. But
yeah,
also,
let me give you some. Worldwide video game revenue, $200 billion a year and growing by 7.5% a year, 4 times what the movies make. World movie revenue under 50 billion. So video games are now 4 times as big as movies. That's crazy.
And that's what people see. And that's why, Dr. Sharif, that's why my whole model of what I'm trying to build is not based on the monetary value, but on the value of the individual, to try and get that individual an opportunity. Because there's so many things that people don't understand that video games touch. But if you can attract a kid, as you see, 2/3 of the people in the US, if you look even younger, it's even more if you look at the younger age groups, because you're looking at 80 and 90% of the youth are actually playing video games. But if you think about attracting a kid into a situation saying, hey, look, I want to play this game with my friends, and they go and learn they play this game, but then while they're there, they see other opportunities in front of them that, hey, culinary arts, I like to cook. Culinary arts even is touched by video games. So if I like to cook and now I come here and play games with my friends, but now I learn how to cook, that's a whole different world that has never been touched, which is what I'm trying to do. So with, for example, the convention that I'm putting on, this Future Fest Connect, the whole goal is to attract people. Hey, look, we got video games. We have all this cool technology, but you know what? You can learn how to do it too, because here are the people that are here to teach you. I've got a center that I'm going to announce next month that one of the major developers, actually one of the biggest fish in the sea, is going to help out with. And they're here to teach kids, hey, look, you can learn how to code. You can learn how to do this. But also just to play your video game, this is now you making you better. I've got a lady who's going to be bringing in a flying car. We're going to have a challenge where people can not only be able to touch and be a part of that flying car, but be able to train people. If I come in and learn from this giant developer how to program and code, now I can actually create a training exercise. Now I can sell that training exercise. So now this kid, say, for example, in Bangladesh, who's sitting in a neighborhood that's not all that great, but now I can I can create a code to create a training exercise for people to learn that could be utilized globally to teach people how to do a flying car or create a flying car or actually even design one. Now I got a 3D printer in the background that, hey, now I can print a 3D flying car at home and make it happen and make millions off of it. Now I'm out of this one whole small spot.
So video games are also a bridge to other stuff. So for the movie and TV industry is slowly collapsing. Production is down 50% in the past 2 years in Los Angeles. The only way to get something made is to have an IP, which is intellectual property, something that's proven successful in another area, video games, comic books, graphic novels. It used to be if you wanted to pitch a TV show, you walk in with one sheet of paper with your idea. Now you better walk in with some video footage, some rendered images, some record of how popular this thing is in social media. Video games, that's the platform that you show people, that love it as a video game, they'll love it as a movie.
And that's why I'm using, because video games, truthfully, and this is why when I repeatedly say we're speaking from a different plateau a lot of times, is because that's what we're doing. Because we're not speaking in a language that a lot of youth are talking about. That's what video games are. That's that bridge. Exactly what you're talking about, Rick. From video games, they're utilizing some of the same software you're developing video games in movies. Why are they doing that? Because it's easier to create. Like Maya is one of the big 3D, Maya, Cinema 4D, all those 3D technologies that were utilized. You can do that with the Unreal Engine now. The Unreal Engine is what's utilized in most video games most video games to create and develop a video game. Like from your Call of Duties to even your Street Fighters are utilizing the Unreal Engine to actually make that video game. So when you're able to get a kid attracted in to playing NBA 2K, guess what? Now, guess that little ticker that's on the bottom of everything, even here, yeah, that can be done in a video game. I mean, that's streaming technology. That's easy to create now.
Yes, plus people are going to be living in video games with heads-up displays. When more and more people have the glasses, they can be living life, and they can be fricking around with the video display.
Go even further. One of the biggest movies that came out. Well, actually, it came out of a book, and also it was a movie earlier and then redone. Ready Player One. That's what it is. That's where we're going, because
people will live in their favorite IPs, and
because that video game allows you more space, and we are nomadic creatures. We like space, and we like our own. We like to be unique. And that's what that video game is giving you the opportunity to do. One of the biggest video games right now, it's a game called No Man's Sky. It came out roughly I'd say about 5 to 10 years ago. Well, actually about 10 years ago. It's a space exploration thing. We all love space. Rick, this is a game that you would play. You know why? How many stars are in space that they talk about? About 3 quintuplet or quintillion or something like that?
Just our galaxy, 100 billion.
Yeah, but I mean, even stars, you're talking about quintillions of stars and so on.
There's 100 billion galaxies times 100 billion stars.
Yep.
Each star has a planet, at least one.
What they did in No Man's Sky, and it's honestly, it's one of the greatest things, or will always applaud this company for doing it. But what they did is they took a game that had all these ideas that they wanted to do when it first came out, then they continually updated it. Right now, it's definitely one of it is probably the pinnacle for space exploration, because you're talking about if you say all the 100 billion times 100 billion, well, what they did in the game, they had these planets and stars that are there, and it matches, or actually it exceeds the amount of planets and stars that we know of in the galaxy right now. I mean, the 100 billion. You
can go to any of these planets and then screw around on these planets.
There are actually planets in the game that are not found. You can legitimately fly through space and find a planet that and there are millions of people that are playing this game, and millions of people that have played the game. So that means there are millions of planets that have been found, maybe tens of millions of planets. But there are also hundreds of millions of planets that haven't been. So you can legitimately fly through space on No Man's Sky and find a planet and name it your own planet and live on that planet. But that's what people want. And that's why when I'm pointing out Ready Player One, people want space. Games give you that space.
Yeah, space doesn't give us that space, because you can't travel faster than the speed of light. So Star Trek can't happen. Star Wars can't happen. No Man's Sky can't happen in real life. You have to go virtual to have these experiences. And not to mention the teen boys who start living in porn world once like creeps develop heads-up displays. Remember X-ray specs from when we were kids? These glasses.
That's already there. In gaming, that's already there. I mean, I hate to say it, but yes, there's porn in gaming. There's porn in. I mean, that's always going to be there. And
right, I'm saying, like, if you have a heads-up display that makes everybody around you naked, if you're a 14-year-old boy, you're going to wear those glasses.
Well, again, like I said, that's already there in terms of mods. You can actually mod any game, and you can make that happen where you walk around, everybody's nude. So that happens in gaming. But the big thing is that again, it's a bridge, and that's what I'm trying to push is the education portion of it, because that's where we get like missing out on AI, missing out on all these things that we're going to fall behind on. It's because kids, I mean, not saying that kids don't care. It's just, we're just not talking to kids in a way that we're talking to kids the way we were talked to. That day is past.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes back to bad government in some ways, in that we had this great push in the 60s, 70s to make sure the Soviet Union didn't outstrip us technologically. That gave us tech superiority. And now we've got like old guys who don't understand shit running the government, and we're not getting a tech push.
Yep. Exactly. Because they don't see money in it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
All right. Well, I will see you tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah. They left us here again.
Yeah.
I guess they'll end it at some point. So, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, Rick.
All right. Thanks.
See ya.